Hello beautiful people, I hope you have had an amazing start to your week so far. In today's video we're going to be talking about nailing your job interview so that you can land your dream job. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for those of you who are returning subscriber, and if this is your first time here, welcome and thank you for clicking on my video. My name is Ubiogulu and I am a qualified chartered accountant in South Africa. I work for one of the Big 4 global audit firms, and this is the second Big 4 global audit firm that I have worked for in my working career. So I feel like I'm well placed to give you guys some of the tips that I've learned over the years, and I'm hoping that it will help you in landing that job. This video is going to be split into different sections. First, we're going to talk about the interview prep, so the things you need to do before your interview. We're going to talk about tips for during your interview. We're also going to talk about some example of interview questions, and then we're going to conclude. When you are prepping for the interview, I think it should go without saying, but a lot of people do tend to miss this, so I'm just going to say it anyway. You need to know about the role that you are applying for, what it entails, what skills are required, and what qualifications are required of you in order for you to perform that role efficiently and effectively. You need to know about the interviewers, so you can go onto LinkedIn, search their names, look at their background, their experiences, places that they've worked for, where they studied, and see if you have anything in common. If you don't have anything in common, you can use that information as a way to show them that you've researched them during the interview. Secondly, it is very important to do research into the company that you are applying for this role in. You want to know what the company's values are, what some of their short-term or long-term goals are, what their ethos are, and you want to show the interviewers that you know about the company, because this will always make an impression on the people who are interviewing you. It shows them that you've taken the time to research the roles, to research the interviewers, and to research the company that you are going to be working for. And I say going to be working for because you are going to nail that interview. There are a lot of resources at your fingertips that you can use for your research. LinkedIn is a very good place to look up companies and interviewers. On LinkedIn, they will be posting about anything that they've been recently involved with, be it charity work or their goals to go green or implementation of whatever new standards and regulations apply to whatever industry the company is in. So do your research on LinkedIn, and also do research on Google, because then Google will give you information about articles that may not necessarily come up on LinkedIn, and it's a good way to see what the company has been up to and what they plan to do in the future. A good thing about researching your company and the role is that you can then check if this company is really aligned with what your values are as a person. Because remember, at the end of the day, you want to work for a company where you know you're going to be valued, where you know that they have the same stances as you do. Is your company diverse, or are you going to be the token black employee or the token person of color at the company? Is the company concerned about the environment, or are they polluting the environment without a care in the world? You need to look up these things and be sure that when you do get that job, you're going to be comfortable in the environment that you are putting yourself into. The other part of your interview prep is knowing your CV. A lot of people put their CVs together and then don't go back to it. Like, it's done, it's saved on the computer, and that is it. You need to know your CV. You need to know what information you've put on there. You need to know what work history you've put on there, what education history you've put on there, what references you put on there, so that when they ask you questions, you don't need to turn to your CV. It is your CV. You should have been the one to draw it up. Or even if you had someone else draw it up, you should know what information is contained in there. Because the last thing you want is for an interviewer to ask you a question from your CV and you can't answer it. It shows them that you didn't really take the time to know about your own information. And I know it's something that's like a no-brainer, but a lot of people tend to just do their CV, save it on their computers, and then that's it. When you do save your CV, make sure you save your CV with your name in it, especially if you're applying to a big company, because the last thing you want is to send an email where all that's attached is CV and they don't know whose CV it is. Save it as CV Ubiogulu, CV, whatever your name is, or your name, and then CV at the end, just so there's a name to the CV before they even open it. When you create your CV, you need to add in as much information as possible. Add your work experience, regardless of what the work experience was. If it was back work, add that in. If you were working in retail or a grocery store and you're applying for a job in corporate, still add that in, because that is work experience, and it shows them that you were in a position where you had to take responsibility as an employee and you were able to do it. That gives them more confidence in your ability to work in the work environment. This information will be more specific to people who have done the same thing that I did, which was completing your articles contract. What you need to do in your CV is to state every single client that you work for from the first year of articles to the third year of articles, and also include the industry that that client was in, because it gives the interviewers better understanding of what you've had exposure to, and it helps them determine how suited you would be for the role that you're applying for. I'm going to do a video separately talking about the different industries that you can go into during your articles and the pros and cons of those different industries, because I think that it might be valuable for some people, because there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know when I was going into my articles, and I only found out towards the end, and by then it was too late. So it's something that I would like to put out there just in case there are people who have questions, or there are people who just don't know, and then that way you are armed with knowledge beforehand as opposed to afterwards. Once you are done researching the company, researching the interviewers and the role that you're going to be applying for, and setting up your CV, you need to physically practice being in an interview. You can either do this by yourself in front of a mirror, or you can do this with a friend or a family, or whoever is around to help you. When you physically practice, like answering questions out loud in an interview style setup, it helps you to build confidence for the actual interview, so that by the time you get to the interview, it's not the first time you've had an interview-like experience. So you've had experience before that, so that way when you actually experience the real thing, you're a lot more comfortable. While you are doing your mock interviews, you need to make sure that you obtain questions that they could possibly ask you during the interview, and I'm going to give you guys a few questions that could possibly come up in an interview. It's very easy to obtain these type of questions because all you need to do is Google it. Yes, I said it, Google it. And you will find different types of interview questions that you can use to prepare yourself for the real interview. That way, if they ask you a question you've already prepared, it's very easy for you to answer it. It's kind of like an exam. When you come across a question that you already know the answer to, you can answer it just like that. Whereas when it comes to a question you've never seen before, it takes you a little bit of time to build an answer. Now we're going to talk about during the interview. Once you have prepared for the interview, you should be in a very good place for the actual interview. All you need to do is make sure you look the part. If you're applying for a job in corporate, you need to dress corporate for your interview. If you're applying for a job in corporate where you know that the work environment is more casual, then you can go ahead and dress more casual, because the first thing that they're going to see when you walk into that room is the way that you've chosen to present yourself. So you need to make sure that the way that you present yourself aligns with the work environment that you want to be in. Because a lot of the times these interviews aren't necessarily testing your technical knowledge, they're testing your personality and who you are as a person. They want to make sure that who you are will fit in and gel very well with the people who are already in the company. So you want to make sure that you are presenting yourself as though you already work there, as though you already fit in, as though you are the missing piece of the puzzle that they have been looking for. During the interview, you need to pay attention to the interviewers, pay attention to their body language, pay attention to the type of words that they're using, pay attention to whether they seem comfortable. Because if you are uncomfortable during the interview, your discomfort may also transfer. Your discomfort may also transfer to the interviewers and vice versa. So if they look comfortable, if they look confident, try and build on that comfort and confidence. So let their energy transfer onto you so that you can, be on the same energy level that they are. Because again, it goes into showing them that you can be part of the work environment that they are in and they already have established. Some of the typical questions that interviewers will ask you would be things like, tell me about yourself. So you need to be able to talk about yourself and tell them essentially why you think you would add value to their company without them having to ask you why you would add value to their company. So tell them about your work experiences, tell them about the type of problems that you faced and had to come up with solutions during your previous work experiences. Tell them about your extracurricular activity and things that they like. Oh, you saw on their website that they have a games room, and you'd noticed that there were pictures of like a foosball table and a pool table, and you can talk about how you're really good at pool or you really suck at foosball, so it'll be a good place for you to learn how to be better at foosball and things like that. So this also shows them that you've done some research into the company itself. Another very typical question they'll ask you, what are some of your strengths and some of your weaknesses? And this is something that you should definitely have already prepared for beforehand, so that you can easily tell them that these are the things that you're good at. Maybe you're a good leader, you are good at time management and all of that stuff. You can tell them very easily about that. And weaknesses such as, being bad at delegating because you want to be in control of whatever the task is. I'm talking about myself here. But these are just some of the examples, and these are things that you should have already prepared for before the interview. So it shouldn't come as a surprise for you, and it shouldn't be a difficult question for you to answer. Some other typical questions that they ask is, why do you think we should hire you? Which is something you could have already answered when you were telling them about yourself. What are some of your values? And again, if you've done research into the company, then you can tell them your values that align with their values, and again, you're showing them that you've done research into the company. They could also ask you about the company, what you know about the company, how you found out about the company, what you like about the company, what it is that attracted you to want to apply for the job. Now, obviously you applied for the job because you needed a job, but you can't just be like, yeah, I applied because I needed a job. Like, you want to show them that you applied because you feel like this is a place that you're meant to be in, as opposed to, well, I just need a paycheck at the end of the month. I've mentioned some strengths already when I was giving the examples of the questions, but you can add that you are adaptable, you are a good leader, you know how to manage your time, you can work well without much intervention from your superiors, you know how to take instructions, you know how to work well with people from different and diverse backgrounds, because that is very important. In this day and age, there shouldn't be a company that isn't diverse in one way or another, be it culture, be it race, be it gender. There has to be some level of diversity, and if there isn't, you probably shouldn't be working there. It's 2021. The last bit of the interview that a lot of people tend to forget when they go for an interview is that you're not only being interviewed by the company, you are also interviewing the company to make sure that you actually want to work for the company. So you need to also prepare some questions beforehand that you can ask the interviewers about the company. And it doesn't necessarily have to be things that you don't know. You can also ask things that you do know, just to see what their response would be, because they might give you a more elaborate response than what you might have found on the internet and stuff like that. And also because your interviewer isn't exactly the same person who wrote those internet articles, their response wouldn't necessarily be the same. It's nice to hear things in people's own words, because it might touch you in a different way. So make sure during the interview that you actually ask questions, because you don't want to go there, get asked questions and then leave, because it's almost like, were you not interested in knowing more? And it's a good opportunity to ask questions to know more, because like, when else are you going to actually have that chance to ask people questions? Do you know what I mean? So just to conclude everything that I've said, you need to make sure you prepare for the interview, know your CV, know the role, know the company, know how you can tell them that you're going to add value to the company, be confident, smile, and just try to be relaxed during the interview. Remember, you would not have made it to the interview if you did not already possess all the competencies, the qualifications, and the skills that you need to be able to land that job. So just go in there and own it. That is everything for this week's video. I hope you guys have found this helpful and insightful. If you have any more tips that you want to share and add to it, please leave a comment down below. If you have any questions that you want to ask, you can definitely comment that down below as well, or you can DM me on Instagram if you feel like it's a little bit more personal. And yeah, like, I really hope that you guys have found this helpful, and give it a thumbs up if you have, and also subscribe to my channel. I'll catch you guys in my next upload.